Who are some of the best fits for some of the top lottery prospects? James and I talk that coming up on Locked On NBA Big Board. What's up? My name is Richard Stayman, aka at Mavs Draft. I am joined by James Barlowe. I do NBA draft scouting reports for myself on mavsdraft.substack.com. James is one of the brightest minds on draft Twitter. He does a lot of mock drafts, puts a lot of insight out there, and he's also joined the show over the last few months. He has been fantastic. We want to thank everybody for making Locked On NBA Big Board the first listen of your day. It means a lot to James and I, as well as Leif and Rafael. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. It's all one word for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. James, we have seen the NBA Draft Combine has come and gone. I think it's starting to take a little bit more shape. Today, the ESPN came out with their first post-combine mock. It had a lot. I think it had a lot of people thinking really of what is the best fit for some of these guys. What have you been up to over the last week? What are your thoughts post-combine, everything like that? Let's hear it.
So I put out my first mock with actual teams and what I think the direction that some of these organizations should go. Some of it is best player available. Some of it is I think this guy has the most upside. Some of it is looking at roster construction. I was very, very tempted to put Topic number one, thinking that the Hawks I think the Hawks should personally just start all over. But a lot of that is going to depend on the trade value of Trae Young, DeJounte Murray. But I saw ESPN put out that doesn't look like what I have, but that's what the fun part of this particular draft is. So what we're going to do is talk about what we think or where we think the best fits for a few particular guys are. So I saw you tweet earlier about Zaccharie Risacher in Washington. Please tell me why do you think that is a good fit or if that's the best fit for him?
Yeah, I don't think it's actually his number one fit, but I don't hate the pick. Like he's give or take an inch, 6'9", 3-and-D. I think he's actually a fantastic defender. He's a really good shooter. He is absolutely not a number one pick. My philosophy is in this draft, if you know you were getting somebody who's going to get a second contract and he shoots and he defends, don't overthink it. Take that guy as soon as possible. The Wizards are likely to be the team that is easily in the top 5 or top 3 of next year. And the top 3 of next year is absolutely loaded. You got Cooper Flagg is up there, Ace Bailey, Common Malawak, I probably butchered that. There's also Dylan Harper. There's a lot of different guys out there that are really high-level prospects. So get your complimentary guy that can surround your stars now. Get him 1 year earlier compared to the stars. I think the thinking it's hard for a lot of people to say, oh, like he's not really a fit pick. At this point, he's just somebody sticks. Mm-hmm. And Washington needs that defensive identity. I think he helps build it really well, especially if you do get Ace or Cooper. Those are guys that are really founded on defense as well. I think that would do a lot. Personally, I just feel like if you know he has a second contract in him and he's a 3-and-D guy, why would he not fit next to a future star, even if that star isn't there?
Do you think he would be able to adapt to what it looks like in Washington as a team that is not going to win more than likely? And like, I think back to it took Denny 2 seasons to figure out how to play in the NBA. And again, Risacher projects to be a much better shooter than Denny was. But Denny had to learn how to play individual basketball on a team where, it's not to say that you don't play. The NBA is isolation basketball. It's a system, it's a set, and then we're going to get our best guys shots. So do you feel like at some point Risacher may struggle in that particular role, considering that you got to think Tyus might get dealt and your only playmakers are Poole? If they don't trade Kuzma, he sometimes, can have his head down. Then he will pass, but ultimately he's like your secondary ball handler or a ball mover. So do you feel like there's a situation where the the situation where Washington is just not good and it like affects his confidence?
A little. That is definitely a flag. I think for me, it depends on who's in there, right? If they lose Tyus Jones, yeah, it definitely hurts him. He's a guy that needs Tyus Jones there. But I mean, you could kind of do that around. Like my thing is, you can kind of do that down the line. If Donovan Clingan doesn't have a point guard, yeah, he gets hurt a ton too, and he's there. That's kind of why Nicole Topic is a guy right there that might be his best fit. Mm-hmm. I feel like at the end of the day, though, like Risacher, he doesn't have to do a thing on offense other than shoot, and if that is drilled into his head, especially if Corey Kispert's there, which if it were me, I'd be shipping out everybody. Trade Poole, trade Kuzma, Kispert. Then it's him and Koulibaly, and they do such different things that there's not actually overlap. I feel like he could actually play his best game just being a shooter, but also if needed, just as a developmental thing is what a lot of bad teams do. They say, hey, just go out there and like create. And that actually could be beneficial to him. Kind of like you said, that isolation, that individual game, if he can adapt to that really quickly.
All right, so to pivot, I feel like Risacher's best spot, and funny thing, I kind of skipped over him and when I put my mock in this particular spot, but I feel like Detroit would be his best spot. Now, I don't know how the Detroit fan base will feel about another French guy, another light-skinned French guy, consider how it worked out with Killian Hayes. Maybe they'll forgive him, maybe they'll, whatever, but I feel like the best spot for him would be Detroit. You have a playmaker, you have Cade, that if you can knock down shots, minutes are going to be there in Detroit because they're just not a good shooting team. Like I think at the end of the year, they were starting Simone Fontecchio. So I feel like Detroit would be the best spot for him. But the way that, I guess the minds are thinking, he doesn't even fall to Detroit at 5.
Yeah, I think Detroit is the number one. It's that or Charlotte in their back-to-back picks. So I think I agree with that. If I had to put him anywhere, Risacher in Detroit fixes a lot for a rookie.
I agree. All right, let me ask you, Reed Sheppard.
I think you could put him anywhere. I don't think like Atlanta maybe wouldn't take him.
No,
and probably not Portland because every time I see a mock draft put a guard at Portland,
it's too many of them there.
I roll my eyes and it's never like Toppage might be the only one. Like he's bigger. Yeah. That's fine. But you cannot be putting like Dillingham, Sheppard, those kind of guys up there. It drives me absolutely crazy. So not Portland, probably not Detroit for kind of similar reasons. Like they got too many guards and ball handlers. I really like San Antonio. I've been enamored with that fit for a while just because in front of Wembanyama, you get somebody who creates havoc on defense. I think it would just make Wembanyama even better. And then also you have a lights out shooter off ball and a good decision maker that can make him better. I just feel like that's a top tier complementary piece for this draft.
I like him in Houston. I think, again, big Fred VanVleet fan, but he's like 30 and he's a small guard. And you think, the shelf life, again, Mike Conley's doing it. He's like 37, but it's hard. And I think his contract he's got like 2 years left. So, and if you're Houston and you say, you know what, we think Amen Thompson can be a starter as a ball handler, then you need somebody who's going to guard the point guard still. So I think Houston will work. I don't know if that's what they want to do. I think Charlotte would work because you can play him next to LaMelo, next to Brandon Miller. He can not because I don't feel like Reed is he's not a primary ball handler, but next to those two, he can be like a secondary ball handler. Again, guard point guards, guard whoever Terry Rozier used to guard when he was there. So I like those two spots mostly for him. But yeah, like you said, Portland, no way. No, it's too many guys there.
Yeah, I feel like he could connect a lot of what's wrong in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. I mean, not necessarily what's wrong, but like he could help bridge that gap between Melo and Miller, I think. Just kind of playing in between them. Melo already, I think something that's underrated. Like, yeah, he's not a good on-ball defender, so you can't really have both of those guys. It's kind of my worry with having him in Reed, but at the same time, not many backcourts would be better at generating steals than those two.
Right.
That's got to count for something. Miller's a decent defender. I honestly can't remember a strong opinion one way or another this year. Thought he was a good defender in college, so I'll still give him the benefit of the doubt there. At the very least, I'm just not going to, speak out, just lie about how I saw his defense or didn't see it. but it never stood out in a negative way, at least. So to me, that's a positive. And if Mark Williams takes a step forward behind him, like that's big. I think you could have a lot of insurance on the defensive end.
I agree.
Cool. Well, let's talk Donovan Clingan, Matas Buzelis, and Rob Dillingham coming up. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. For example, I can tell you about how I truly and really do feel about who the Mavs, for example, as Mavs draft should take, but sometimes that's not all that is on one's minds, and you need to an unbiased, kind audience all the same. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Back here with James Barlowe. I am Richard Stayman, aka Mavs Draft. We're talking about some of the best fits for the top NBA prospects. We came to the conclusion for Risacher, we pretty much agreed with him being in Detroit would probably be his best fit. Reed Sheppard, we had a few ideas. I said San Antonio. James said Charlotte. I think that in Houston as well. Let's talk about Donovan Clingan. I kind of teased him at the beginning with Washington. Where do you think his best fit is?
I want him to fall for himself and for the organization. It's a perfect fit for Memphis.
Yeah, writing on the wall.
It's a no-brainer. I couldn't see them trading up for him, but like it's Memphis. And I know that they had, I guess, I don't know if it's the Memphis Grizzlies fans that follow me and that kind of like throw off my algorithms, but they're talking about trading for Jared Allen. And I don't know how that's going to work with the cap. And Memphis being a small market team, again, I know that the wallets got bigger with this new TV deal, but I can't see them paying Ja, Bane, JJ, and Jared Allen. So I think if I'm correct, you need cheap guys. I'm not a capologist, but you need cheap guys. And Kling is going to be cheap for a few years. He feels the need. If you feel like the Grizzlies were at their best when they had Steven Adams screening, then you got to think Donovan Clingan is the closest thing in this draft to replicating what you had with Steven Adams. And I think that he may be a pretty good passer too. So you can unlock some dribble handoff action with Bane. I know Adams was a good enough passer too, where it worked for him. So yeah, I think Clingan's best spot is most definitely Memphis, but I think I saw you tweet Clingan in Washington, please.
I don't mind it. That was one where I was like, okay, the mock says it is a different mock and it wasn't ESPN. But I was like, okay, I don't see the issue with it because I get it because Washington needs defense. Like I will not be opposed to any high floor player in Washington that plays defense. I don't want to personally. I'm okay with the swing for the fence. I just don't think the swing for the fence is actually that high this year. Like you're not hitting that many home runs. You're probably hitting like a double or triple at best. Take the guy you know that's going to be there. Take the swings next year in a class that's filled with stars. Like I personally believe in bad classes. Taking swings is a generally bad idea. I do it by year. Obviously, you could miss out and take the guy that is that exception to the rule. But statistically, you're probably more likely to take the guy who's the rule, not the exception. Like if Cody Williams, for example, ends up being like statistically, he does not favor well for the NBA. I'd be scared that you're going to find more of him than you do a Giannis, or Giannis is an extreme example, but like Jaylen Brown, right?
Or even Victor Oladipo.
Even Oladipo. Oladipo was actually somebody I remember in 2013, he was considered the safest prospect in the top 5 and he had the highest ceiling. Like we grossly misread what his floor versus ceiling was. Sometimes we have this habit we never learn. I mean, it's been 50 years since the draft has been underway and we have always done this differently, but underestimating ceiling and confusing it with floor, being like, this guy's going to be good, therefore he's high floor, not that good of a ceiling. We think these bad players now and that end up good, those are the highest ceiling players. Sometimes it's not how it is. Like attainability matters. And for that, to bring this all back, Clingan is a guy who we know is going to stick. He may get like down the road, he may get played off in the playoffs. Highly unlikely, I think, but there is that possibility. But if he makes your regular season defense that much better, doesn't matter right now. Like, and you can also trade him if needed. If you get Cooper Flag and you may not be able to play them both. Again, it's Washington. They have a blank slate. Take the guy who automatically, when you get the stars, makes everybody else better.
I understand. Do you have any concerns with Clingan playing 24 minutes a game? Do you think he can keep up?
Yeah.
You don't have any issues with the stamina, the health? No.
Not in the long term. Maybe right away, but in the long term, absolutely not.
Are you buying the trickery with him shooting moving threes in a workout?
No, not okay. No, I've said this so many times. I said this last week on the podcast too. Look, it's really cool. His form isn't bad, so I think that's what's tricking a lot of people. But at the end of the day, free throw percentage is the best indicator, and also the man didn't shoot in college. Derek Lively did this last year. Can you guess? I'm pulling this up because I don't know the number. Can you guess how many threes Derek Lively both made and took this year?
I don't think he made a three.
He went 0 of 2. And I remember people were talking. They're like, well, he can shoot. Like, he was doing this in workouts. He took 2 threes. And I don't even think he took one in the preseason unless it was a heave. So, like, for me, no, I'm not buying it. The numbers are right. Numbers don't lie on this stuff. If anything, the one takeaway I would say with it, there's 2 things. One, NBA players are very good at basketball.
They're awesome at basketball.
Yeah, like
it's amazing. Like,
you remember Mitchell Robinson? There was a video of him like handling the ball, and people were like, "Oh, is he now a ball handler?" And like the dribble was up to his head, and like, but he was playing against like scrubs, so people thought that. But the other thing is for me, I take it as his free throw percentage is probably better than like the 50s. Like, that is something that I truly do believe he could get up to the 60s, high 60s, low 70s, maybe in a really optimistic outcome. That is my entire takeaway from it.
It's funny because like, it's I've seen people or saw people tweeting, oh man, he's making jumpers. He was shooting like in super slow motion on the move. Like, he's never popping out and shooting a corner 3. But like, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, like, look up Steven Adams shooting 3-pointers.
Oh my God.
Like, he doesn't miss in warm-ups. Look at Dwight Howard. Like, NBA players, if you ever get an opportunity to watch, I guess this is a good segue to like game time, right? If you ever get to go to a game early, dude, watch these dudes. These dudes are amazing. Every single one. Like, if you're in the Chicago area, like, find out where Andre Drummond plays. He plays point guard the entire summer, and he can handle the ball. But you know what? When the lights come on, like, he looks goofy because he's like 6'10", 300 pounds, but like, these dudes are amazing athletes, and like, they all can shoot in an empty gym. But I get what you're saying about Clingan in Washington. I still kind of feel like I would personally go with Toppich because I feel like I know what Toppich is. I know he's going to be a playmaker. If he can't shoot, he's Josh Giddey. And I think Josh Giddey is a good basketball player on a team with no expectations.
Yep.
On a team with expectations, he can't play because he can't shoot, and he's not going to be the primary ball handler. So I would go with Toppich there, because how you feel about Clingan is how I feel about Toppich. I know he's going to be 6'6". He's going to be very good at pick and roll, and he's going to be able to pass. And if he can shoot, then he may have, borderline, like, high-level starter, ceiling. And I'll absolutely take that as a foundation piece to get me Flag. I'm not going to say Ace Bailey because I'm not a big Ace Bailey fan right now, but like, that's who I would take at number 2.
I'm going to have to convince you to get on that Ace Bailey bandwagon. But no, I mean, I completely agree there. Toppich, my thing is like, as long as the health checks out.
Yes.
Like, he's going to be a very good pro. Like, his floor is very high. I do think that would be like bonus content here. I think that would be his best fit is Washington because of exactly the reasons you said. Like, I completely echo all of that. And to wrap it up too, like with Clingan, it comes down to the same thing. Like, yeah, the workout stuff, we take it with a grain of salt. But there is something to be said for these guys that can do work on a bad team and then eventually make it better for when the talent is around them.
I agree.
Well, you hinted at it. Let's talk about game day. Game day, if Game Time, is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. With killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code Locked On NBA for your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On. Actually, use Locked On code Locked On NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Did a little crossover there with the NHL Locked On. Last segment here, we're going to talk about Matas Buzelis and Rob Dillingham. Let's save. I think the best for last is Buzelis. Let's talk about Rob Dillingham. This one might be quick. I mean, the Spurs, right? Like it has to be.
Yeah. But you know what? Let me sneak one in there. All right. Look, backtrack. I have been speaking it into existence since November that he was going to be a San Antonio Spur. I want to say, in my mind, I was one of the first people that said Dillingham was a top 5 pick. And I said, if you put him with Wembanyama, we got something special because we got an electric point guard and we got the best top 10 player in the NBA right now at 20 years old. But if I am the Houston Rockets, I'm going to take a hard, long look at Rob Dillingham almost for the same reasons that I mentioned about Reed Sheppard earlier. So hear me out. I know there are defensive concerns with Rob Dillingham. I get it. But if there's ever an opportunity, ever a person to learn from as a small point guard how to defend past your measurements, it's Fred VanVleet in Houston. So you got VanVleet there for 2 more years under that deal. And I feel like it would be a great internship for Dillingham as a backup point guard until you can give him the reins in 2 years. And he essentially would have the same role that he has now in Kentucky, where we're just dynamite off the bench. Because ultimately, like I said, I don't know if I can trust Amin Thompson as my lead ball handler, primary playmaker, if he can't shoot. So, and if we have concerns about Dillingham as a playmaker because he wasn't asked to do so as much, he's more of a ball mover in Kentucky. I feel like Dillingham can play both with Jalen Green and Amin Thompson long term. Now, again, there's going to be defensive concerns, but I should be able to coach him up. I think Jabari Smith is a very good defender. I think Amin Thompson is a very good defender. Now, and also at number 3, if you do keep the pick, I want the best player available. I want the best talent in the draft. And I think Dillingham is, if not the best, he's the second best or at worst the third best. So again, I know it doesn't look right because, he's a small point guard and they already got a point guard. And then I feel like Houston may be thinking that now is the time because they were so good this last season in March and April. But I feel like they should at least consider Rob Dillingham, thinking for the future in 2 to 3 years when you don't have VanVleet and possibly not Dylan Brooks. You're going to have to play those young guys. And you're going to have to pay some young guys too because, again, the CBA is changing. So if you saw what you saw from Thompson, it's like, you know what? I don't know if he'll be able to shoot. He might be an Iguodala type. You're going to need a point guard.
See, I think my concern is just the size is that much of a question mark for me because he, unlike Reed, he just does – I don't think he adds any defensive value, and I think that's going to kill them. Also, I mean, I agree learning under like VanVleet would be really helpful. I just don't think he fits their play style that they have right now. Like I don't know if you can have such a bad just all around defender in front of Şengün until they get that figured out. Like I agree there are other pieces around and make it up for it, but I think you couldn't even, I don't know if you could really even how the playoffs would work with that. Like even in 3 years, I get it. I fully buy into his upside. I think that's his worst spot. I think that would really, really limit how he plays and how the rest of the team plays. So for that, I would be out on Houston. Mm-hmm. I get the appeal because he is the best player available. And this offense adds up, but like how do him and Jalen Green fit, for example? I don't think they can.
As far as just on offense together?
Just in general. I think on both ends.
That's a fair point. But you know, you got to think they were competitive, like really competitive last year when they moved Jabari Smith to the 5, and obviously that's when Şengün was hurt. So if you sit here and say that in the playoffs, how does it work? Maybe you close games with Jabari at the 5. You're going to get your butt kicked at the 5 regardless, because you're going to have to guard Jokic, right? Eventually, you're going to have to deal with NBA. You're going to get your butt kicked. It is what it is. But I just feel like it's Mike Conley came in he was a pure point guard. He does everything right, but I almost think that it's as much of a mentality thing as a physical attribute thing. So at 6'1", 170, Mike Conley, I mean, they didn't pick on him tonight. We watched the game. They weren't picking on him. Like, he holds his own. And it's not because he has great measurements. It's just because he's like, you know what? You're not going to pick on me. Yeah. And it may be it's a big ask for a 19-year-old to defend at that level. But I'm thinking, like, you know, worst case scenario, 3-4 years. If it doesn't work, you have an electric guy who can score and make plays if you need to just go big. Because again, you have the Thompson twin, right? He should be able to defend 1 through 4. You have Cam Whitmore, who, if he plays offense with an attitude, he should be able to play defense with attitude. They'll get what's my man's name? Tari Eason back. Hopefully his legs are not messed up. So they have guys, in my opinion, to make it work. It's just going to take it's going to come down to what Rob does, whether he goes to San Antonio or Houston. He's going to have to make up that mindset to, like, you know what, I'm 170 and some change. I got to defend my butt off.
And like, I think there is one game that I saw this year where, like, he really tried at a lot of moments that convinced me at the beginning of the season. I was like, can he actually defend? I was a little bit surprised. It was the North Carolina game. I think it's the CBS Classic or whatever it is. He was, I mean, at the end of the game, he had like some really impressive plays. It was his motor was at his best, but we just don't know if he has a defensive motor night in and night out. And that's really, like you said, it's just that want to.
Yeah. But you know what? If there's one dude that's going to cuss you out and yell at you for not playing defense and bench you for not playing defense, it's Ime Udoka. So, like, I would trust him there too, because he has to figure it out, because Ime won't play you.
Yeah, I agree. What about Matas to Buzelis? So who do you think is the best fit there?
I really feel like it's Portland.
How come?
I think his best position in the NBA is going to be a 4.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you don't see him as a wing.
I don't trust him to dribble the basketball as a wing. I think he's too upright. I think excuse me. I think he is a little bit trickery when you see him windmill in an empty gym, because he's athletic in space, right? And in games too. But there's just so much bad film of him as a bad ball handler, right? And he's a good athlete, not a great athlete. I feel like his best physical advantage would be as a 4. And I feel like there will be minutes at the 4 in Portland eventually, because they got to move on from Jeremy Grant at some point, right? And if you sit here and tell me, Matas, coming out of high school, you're supposed to be a shooter. In Portland, he's going to have to shoot the ball, because they have playmakers. They have Simons. They have Scoot, right? So I feel like Portland would be the best bet. If he goes to Detroit, they're going to ask him to play the 3. I don't really like him in Detroit. I think they would ask him to do the things that he's not going to be good at in Detroit.
Yep, I completely agree. I think actually a lot of teams will ask him to do things he's not good at. I posted a video about his awareness as a ball handler. Like, when he's running, and I'm not talking just dribbling the ball before, I'm talking full on sprint, top end speed for him, which still isn't very good because he doesn't separate.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't see the floor. It's all tunnel vision. And I had a lot of people reply to me, and they're like, well, his teammates sucked. They couldn't shoot.
That's never.
And it was like, that's not the point.
That's never an excuse.
That's not the point. He doesn't know they're there. Like, whether or not he chose not to on some of them, he didn't know they existed at those spots. And that, to me, you cannot play him as a wing. Like, I truly believe the assist to turnover ratio captures that kind of stuff. in stats. And this is a prime example. So for me, maybe the shot comes around. This year was a little bit flukish. If you look at some of his high school numbers, his free throw percentage was always 75 plus at EYBL, Sunrise. So there's a lot there that makes me say this year may have been off. He's probably reworking some of his mechanics and just got caught in the middle. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. Let's say the shot is legit. He plays good defense. I think there's a lot of defensive skills there. He's 3-and-D. Does that work? Like he has to be I feel like he has to be almost perfect on the defensive end to ever play in the playoffs at this point, like, or be a very high-end shooter. Like if he's an average shooter, he has to be a great defensive player. And I don't know if he can do that, especially given that his length is pretty short. What do you think of that?
I agree with you. He didn't really have the best measurements, but I just feel like with him being like limited off the dribble, if in my mind, if he's in Portland, we're running a high pick and roll with Scoot and we want to blitz Scoot for whatever reason, and you get the ball, him at the top of the key, he should be able to knock down those shots. And that's when he should be able to dribble, because again, it's because we closed out on him and now he can get downhill. But any other situation where you think you're playing him as a 3 and as a potential like pick and roll ball handler, I think you're setting him up for failure. And I just feel like Portland at the 4, there is an opportunity for him. And I mean, you know, who's to say that Saloon may not jump into that spot, but I feel like Matas at the 4 is where he should be. That's where I would want to play, because I mean, like, you know, you're gonna get pick and roll opportunity or you're gonna get opportunity to pick a pop guy, right? And you're supposed to be a shooter, so those are the easiest shots you're gonna get as a professional, especially as a rookie too, because you're not gonna have to create for yourself.
Yep, I think his best fit would probably be Utah, just because they're really good at developing guys. So
hold on. So Utah, how does that work with Lowry?
I don't even I'm just ignoring, just say he's a year 1 project.
Okay.
That's how I'm kind of viewing him as. I don't care about the current roster. They'll probably figure out Lowry by then. I also just don't think Matas, personally, I don't think he's somebody that you change Lowry marketing for.
Oh, no. Of course
not. And no. I'm not saying you imply that. I just want to say I don't think his ceiling is that high.
Right.
So for that reason, though, I'd rather get him in somewhere like Utah that their program has made forwards better. Mm-hmm. And personally, I'd just like to see that they really preach a lot of the defense. That's really why.
Mm. Okay.
So,
I get it.
Yeah. So we got, to recap, we got Risacher. We both said Detroit. We sprinkled in a couple other teams. Reed, Sheppard. I think we said Houston, right?
That was Houston or Charlotte or maybe San Antonio.
We said Donovan Clingan. Memphis, no brainer. Yes. Matas Buzelis, we kind of differed. I said Utah. James said Portland, and Rob Dillingham. I said San Antonio. We kind of both said San Antonio.
I want San Antonio.
And then also James made the case for Houston. So any final thoughts on any of these guys, James, before we get going?
Man, somebody's going to slide in this. And I think it's going to be Matas. I really think the Tijan propaganda is like really, really picking up. And I've heard his work ethic is unreal. And like you see how he's been playing. And then if that work ethic is very, you know, if that information is good, I think he's going to jump. He might jump Matas. If you look at it right now, if I told you who's the better shooter, you would say Salute. If I say who's the better athlete, who's the better defender, you would say Tijan, right? And if you say, well, Matas is supposed to be the better playmaker, but it's like,
that's theoretical.
It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, I could be wrong. I might be wrong, but hey, we'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll be back tomorrow. We're excited we're almost at the month mark till the NBA draft. So we have a lot of content coming for you. We've been covering a lot of top guys. We're going to start moving down the board to the mid-first and second-round sleepers, things like that. But for James Barlowe and Richard Stayman, thank you so much for listening to Locked On NBA Big Board. See you next time.